Alrighty, we just going to jump right into it, I guess. Joel Adams, my friend, how are you doing today?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for joining us on the very first podcast. I'm going to call it Making Moves. That is a working title.
It might change. It might be the first and last episode of Making Moves.
That's right. We'll change it every week or bi-weekly, however often we do this. But yeah, man, wanted to have you on. Our first doing this, just kind of with me, I guess I wouldn't say host, but just kind of conversationalist and just going back and forth. We've been working together for what? How long now?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years, yeah. For those that do not know, Joel is on the team, the Roland team. He's part of the leadership committee. Just been working together at a pretty strong pace, and then also become really good friends overall throughout the process. So, again, wanted to bring him on, just kind of chat. No really format that I have planned, just kind of want to go back and forth and just a general dialogue between me and my buddy, and just discussing kind of what life looks like in the eyes of Joel Adams.
That's a scary place to be. That's what you want to know?
Yeah, man. Walk me through it. Tell me a little bit about yourself, just so everyone out there kind of knows who you are.
Who I am. So I'm a dad of 3 daughters, 15, 13, and 11. So I got that chaos going on right now. So I was married for, I think about 16 years. Been divorced about 5 years. So, but just trying to raise my kids, make money so I can pay for their random crap that they want to buy on a constant basis. All the Takis and hot fries that they want to get. And then, just trying to live my life, navigate chaos that life brings at me and succeed in what I'm doing.
Nice, man. Yeah, we know real estate, already is a bit chaotic. And then you add 3 teenagers or almost teenagers to the mix. How do you handle that? Describe the daily struggles, or just kind of give us a background as far as what that looks like on a day-to-day.
I mean, it's tough because it's like, you see everything, and I'm an advocate in regards of like grinding and putting yourself out there and giving your everything in whatever you're doing. But I think part of the struggle is also, it's like, okay, that's great. But I also, like, my number one job is to make sure that I have raised and I'm raising 3 amazing humans. And so part of the struggle is to navigate that aspect of the amount of quality time. Sometimes it's quantity for individuals, navigating all of their different personalities and how I talk to them, how I connect with each one individually, how I, some of it's just quality time with one, other ones it's just conversation that's super quick. Some of them it's just like, hey, what are you interested in? So it's just navigating all of that process is sometimes I don't think I'm the best at it in the world. I hope to God I'm good at it. But yeah, it's sometimes hard when you have to pull work away or explain. And so my parenting style is I don't really try to hide much from my kids. I am pretty honest in regards to where things are at, and also at the same time, treat them with respect as humans, not as children. So, we'll have conversations like, hey, you're with me this week, but listen, Dad is inundated with work. So there's going to be chunks of time that I have to do this to provide for our family, to provide the home that you have and the things that we have. So some of those conversations are difficult. There's a ton of guilt that I think comes along with it at times. I think we talk a lot about mom guilt all the time, mommy guilt, but I don't really hear much conversation in regards about dad guilt and like, okay, I have to do this to provide. And whether you're single or married or whatever, I think we have a different set of guilt. I mean, you know what it is. Your son just turned 1 or will turn 1 tomorrow. Yep. And so watching you navigate this last 12-month process of, I can go do whatever I want. I can grab my wife. I can go and we can just bounce to, it's a 30-minute ordeal just to get out of the house. Mm-hmm. So what's it been like for you, this transition, this time in regards of, I know we've had conversations, bouncing thoughts and frustrations off of me.
Yeah, no, definitely been leaning on you for a lot of things. You've been through it 3 times already, and you have definitely a lot more experience under your belt than I do. It's been a roller coaster, man. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. He turns 1 tomorrow. His name's Titan. He is just the best, but right now he is also a mama's boy. So that's kind of getting used to. We just got back from Disney. It was a great trip with some friends. And on the last day, he woke up with like a 101 fever. So my wife, being Mama Bear, kind of panicked and she wanted to be closer to the pediatrician. So we left early and he's on the mend now. But I mean, like all he wants is his mama. And it kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. You know what I mean? Like before he wasn't that bad. Like he's very selective. But usually that included me, you know. Now it's like, put me the fuck down, dude. I want my mom. And it does. And I know, you know, you can't take it to heart, but it does. It's like, man, I had a rough day at work. I just want to hold my boy.
Right.
And he's like, I hold him and he just immediately starts crying. He like looks at mom, reaches to her. I hand him off and then crying stops. I'm like, God, I love him. It's unconditional love, but I'm like, man, it still hurts. But yeah, man, it's hard. Like the anxiety, the fear, you know, all these things that when you love something so much, it's just debilitating, you know, like you can get stuck in your head about the what ifs, like, oh man, if this happened, you know, routine, you know, store, like drive to the store or something like that. I'm just worried, like, hey, you know, get there. Just weird stuff. Depends on, I guess, chemically what's going on in my brain that day, but like, it will wreck you, you know. And before, like, I didn't have really anything like that. Yeah, I had my wife, but like when something is so little and so fragile, it's like anything can hurt it, and it just, you're vulnerable, and it's a whirlwind, man. You know it. So I definitely have leaned into you about what that's like, and I'm still learning, and he hasn't even learned to really, you know, do anything quite yet. So I'm sure I'm in for it.
He's got that, what I call that drunken sailor walk, you know, just sways back and forth kind of. But like, I wonder, how's it been? Because I remember when I was married, and we had young kids and things like that. Like it's interesting the transition that I found in being a parent, right? Because there's so much financial responsibility that's been on you. And you're the sole breadwinner in your house. I mean, Molly was doing real estate for a while and was helping you in regards to the team and the company and everything. But at the same time, it's like, if, you know, crap hit the fan, you know, if everything in real estate completely blew up and there was nothing going on, you had somebody that was like, okay, we could at least make this work. But now you have Titan where you're like, you can't put him to work. So it's like, I got to provide for someone who is completely incapable of providing for themselves. Have you like processed kind of all of that extra anxiety and stress in this process?
Not so much till you mentioned it just now.
You're like, great. Now I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat.
No, I definitely, you could tell, obviously, financially on your bank statements, like, what in the hell is happening? And of course, Molly likes to buy this like premium goat milk from Whole Foods. Like, let the kid just eat regular shit or whatever, but, you know, only the best. So that's been interesting. And he's a bigger kid as well. I'm 6'5", about 265, and his name's Titan. So I'm assuming, based off genetics, he'll also be a large kid. So far, so good. I mean, he's kind of he was premature, so he was small at first, but he's definitely got caught up.
Dude, he's huge.
Yeah, he eats a ton.
Well, it's not like Molly's small. She's what, 5'7"?
Yeah, it's 5'7", 5'8", yeah.
I mean, that's not small for a woman. Like, I think an average height woman's like 5'4", 5'5". So you got you, who's like flipping ogre over here, like you're like the mountain from Game of Thrones, and then Molly's not small either. So she looks tiny next to you, but you know, I'm 6 foot 210, and like standing next to me, I'm like, oh, okay, like she's a taller woman. So it's, I mean, Titan's gonna be big no matter what.
Yeah, that's why we call it. You know, we understood too. Like, what if he isn't? Because it's not always a given, right? We've seen it
totally,
you know, to where he's just like a shorter guy, but he can, you know, Titan's flexible. He can go by Ty. You know what I mean? If he ends up not being that big, and plus
he ends up being 5'8", he's like, oh, he's just Ty. He's not Titan.
Just Ty's good. And yeah, you know, again, he could he'll be Titan at heart. But no, you're absolutely right. Like, the finances are draining. Just the idea that, like, you know, before we're two able-bodied people that can just get it done if we need to. But yeah, you now have a mouth that you need to feed, and they are incapable of doing it themselves. So that stress is a whole new level, but it comes with just overwhelming just joy and love. And just, I mean, it's so annoying. I will be honest, whenever, before I had a kid, like just listening to parents, how much they love their kids. You know, just like, oh, you don't even know. Right. You don't even know. It's like, no, I've got dogs. I know, you know, but
I've got dogs.
Yeah, I love my, you know what I mean? So, but then you have it, you have your kid, and you're like, okay, like I get it now. And it's, you know, at the risk of also being one of those parents, it's true. Like, you don't know love until you actually have one of these.
Totally.
Things.
Well, yeah, I mean, because listen, it's the ongoing joke. Sorry, don't come at me with your I'm a dog parent thing. Like, you can literally like leave the house and leave the dogs in there by themselves to fend for themselves for 2 days at a time. Put enough food in a bowl, they're good. You leave for 30 minutes with a kid, you'll be arrested.
That's right.
So it's like, it's a completely different aspect.
Yeah, completely, man. And speaking of your kids, I've seen you sometimes because obviously you're big on social media. I see sometimes your kids will join you. And for those that don't know, you are an avid runner. Marathons, 5Ks. We just did one. Speak to me a little bit about that. I wanted to touch on that, like just what most consider absolutely grueling you enjoy and your kids do it with. So explain kind of what that is.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it's one of the things I do to connect with some of my kids. So all my kids don't enjoy it. I take my kids on walks, and like I have 2 of them who I love to death. They're amazing and incredible, and have no interest in doing it whatsoever. They'll complain the entire time. But then when we're done, it's like, oh, that was fun. You know, we'll go out as a family or whatever. We'll go for a couple mile walk. My oldest, though, is much more the athletic of the 3 kids. And it's just something she's into. She's huge into dance. She's in a school, a high school, and she's in like a dance program. So in her day, she has 3 dance classes. So she's very much like, she loves dance, but also wants to kind of push herself physically. And so there's times where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go for a run. You want to go with me? And she's like, always like, no. Okay, I'm putting my shoes on. Like she's that type of kid. So, you know, it's funny you said that I'm an avid, like I think I'm an average runner. I always say that I'm like the slow guy, that I'm the tortoise. I'll finish. No matter what the time is, I'll finish the race no matter what. I'm not very good at it. I don't necessarily fully even really actually enjoy it. Everyone's like, you love running. I'm like, I don't love running. I love not being fat. Like that's part of the reason I do it. I love the sense of accomplishment and goal that I get out of it. I love the process, but the actual act of like being out there on a course or whatever. And, you know, I'm not like, wow, this is amazing. At least the running aspect. I have gotten into doing triathlons in the last year and a half, which I actually really do enjoy because it breaks up some of the monotony of being out there on course for 5 or 6 hours. You're not just plodding along step after step. So it's like breaks up into different things. But yeah, it's good. It's fun to have a goal in life and push towards that goal, get a sense of accomplishment, and then hit another goal. I think this coming May will be the 4th year that I just kind of started by myself. It's just a 5K a day in May. So it's either walk or run a 5K a day in May. And so I know you know, I challenged you to do it and you're like, hell no.
Sit that one out.
But at the same time, 2 years ago, you're like, I'm not running. So, and this year you set a goal of doing what?
Yeah, so I will do not 5K a day, but I will do 5K a month, and that will lead up to, I believe we agreed to a half marathon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm open to it, man. Like I've always said, you know, I'm not really built for running, but same with you. I don't really enjoy. I mean, it's don't get me wrong. It's enjoyable. Certain things, like when you're doing it, of course, it's exhausting. Your heart's pounding. You're sweating. It's cold sometimes. Like the environment can be somewhat miserable. Last time I did it, I didn't expect to do it. I did them in like these shoes that were way too big. It was just, but getting it accomplished, like that's just such a great feeling. And I like it to going hiking, where I hate hiking, like, but when you look back on a hike, you're like, man, that was such a good time. Like when we reached the top of the mountain, that sun, whatever, the memory is what really is enjoyable. But the experience itself, the actual hike, that fucking sucked. Oh yeah. And same thing with 5K is like when you're doing it, you're like, fuck, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? But when you're done, you can look back fondly upon the memories and it's like, yes, that sense of accomplishment. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's one of those things I always have to have a goal in life. And I really think, so we talk about, like you hear in media and things like that about how the average male or man or the average person in America today, like is listless. The suicide rate is insane. The depression rate is insane. I think, you know, people are like, oh, I need to find my passion. I need to jump from job to job. And that might be part of it. But I've more in the last, I don't know, I want to say maybe 6 months or so, it's been like, if I don't have a sense of purpose, then I've lost all direction. You know, and like, you know, I was a pastor for 14 years and there's a verse in the Bible that talks about, you know, the description is being a being a ship that is tossed by the waves. So it's either you're going to be tossed by the waves or you're going to steer into the storm that you're going through, whatever you are in life. And I think in life, for me, is like I have to have the next purpose. And the moment I realized that was I just did a half Ironman, so 70.3 miles. So it's a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike ride, and then a half marathon after that. All in the same day, back to back. Finished a little bit better time than I thought. It was grueling, exhausting. I hurt like hell afterwards. I had a great sense of accomplishment. But I'll say this, and I talked to you about this in the office, like within 2 weeks afterwards, all of that high was gone. And I was just kind of like, blah. And I've talked with other people who do races, is like that post-race depression is real because it's like you don't have the next purpose or goal in life. And I think as long as I have another race or another set to drive myself to move forward, then that's where that kind of sense of purpose is. I mean, I can joke about it just because I used to be a lot heavier, that it's to keep my weight off, but it's really to keep direction in everything in life. Like when my training, my time getting in the gym, my time on the road, my time in the pool, when all that has been taken away, like it is blah for everything. And I'm no good to anybody. I'm not good to my clients. I'm not good to my kids, to my friends, to anybody that I'm seeing. Like all of that goes into like stale mode. And that is a terrible place to be, in my opinion.
Nailed it, man. I think purpose is the missing component for a lot of people that are just simply unhappy. I think that is the true ingredient for happiness, is having a purpose. And you can see that the data is even there for people who retire. Once they retire, what's the stat? They're dead within 10, 15 years on average. I mean, if they're lucky. And a lot of people are just clinically depressed once they retire because their purpose is gone. Everyone is itching to get out of work, but the moment they do, they're like, well, this sucks, because you no longer have a purpose. So you absolutely nailed it, man. And it's important to constantly having new goals set forth. And like you had said, you need another one set. Similar in business. I think that's why real estate bodes well with you as well, because, there's always additional transactions. Sure. And there's something satisfactory about closing a really difficult deal, handing off keys, making someone a homeowner, helping them sell their home. It's very rewarding. But, that does fade. I remember when I first got started in the industry, I was like, when I first helped somebody buy a house, I was like, that was freaking awesome. It was like a high.
Totally.
But that does kind of fade. And so, in our journeys, it starts to progress and we want more. Like we want to help more people buy and sell, but we also want to maybe expand and do other things as well. And sometimes we have to search outside of business, which is, doing marathons or, Ironman, something like that. But I totally agree, man. Its purpose is literally the one thing needed in order to have like a happy life.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything physical, just as long as it's giving you purpose. Like, so the ironic thing is when I grew up and I have a twin brother and I have an older brother, and I lived with my dad mainly in my later part of my middle school and high school years. And the thing that I go back to all the time is like, I grew up in a house of boys. So I always said as a joke when I was in college, wasn't with anybody, wasn't thinking marriage. I was like, I'm going to have a bunch of boys. And what did God saddle me with? Like I got 3 girls who have zero interest. I mean, zero interest in sports whatsoever. Like, anything about me, you know that I'm a Cubs fan, I'm a Mariners fan, I'm a Dolphins fan. My basketball team was stolen from me and now they're stuck in Oklahoma City. So I could care less about the NBA. But, it's like, and, obviously I love the Golden Knights here in town. And so it's one of those things where it's just the most ironic thing. So it's like my daughter, my oldest, absolutely loves dance. And so it's weird kind of from the transition in regards to like, okay, this is her own kind of sport, her own kind of passion. My middle school child, my middle child who's now going to be in high school, her thing is she loves to sing. She's in 2 different choir classes, loves that, is going to go to school for, and that's what she wants to be a part of. And my youngest, I always say, has like the comedic timing of like a veteran comedian. Like she does. She's hysterical. She's going to be in drama at a performing arts school next year when she goes into middle school. But it's, one of the passions that all of them, a through line, is all of them love to draw and paint and all that stuff. So literally every year for either Christmas or my birthday, my dad gets them like some type of art set. And it's always a hit. Oh my gosh, did you see what Papa Gary got us? And it's always like, we have 9 billion sets of paints and everything else in our house. But it's one of the passions that they have. And I look back and I had zero passion for that. I'm like, I have me draw a snowman and I'll probably screw it up. Like, it's terrible, but they love doing it. So it's something I've tried to teach them as a parent that, look, this is something that dad does because it makes him better. Not always because I'm like, yes, I'm gonna go out for a run. Because they see me. They see me when I'm done with a training day. They see me before when I'm putting my shoes on. I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go. Or I'm getting my swim bag ready. I'm like, I'd rather just sit on this couch and watch Netflix or something. And I'm like, but I gotta go. And I'm like, see, I'll be back in an hour or an hour and a half, however long the training session is gonna be. But it's one of those things that, like, I know that I am showing them what it is to have some type of goal and passion that I'm going after that brings me joy and success. Because their very first question is, how'd it go? Whether it be a race or training, how was it? How'd it go? How do you feel? Do you have any injuries? Like, they're immediately asking questions about those things.
Nice. So what I'm hearing is, you have it scheduled to do these things, to go running. It's not like sporadic to where, like, I feel like going for a run. It's always set on your schedule, and then you just honor that agreement you made to yourself, or is it maybe a mixture between the both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, obviously I kind of have my set of races that I have set out throughout the year. So I'll have probably 3 or 4 major ones this year that I'll do, and I'll honor those. I'll do those unless there's some catastrophic injury, obviously. But then obviously, to make sure that I'm the most prepared, I also have a training coach who sends me like, okay, you got to do this today, this today, this today. You got to get these things done. It's one of those things, like, I have to have that schedule. I'm not always the best at always honoring it. Like, you and I were both sick within like a week of each other about a month ago, and it's completely derailed my training. Like, being off for a week completely messed me up. And like yesterday, I was like, I know I'm off. I'm like, it screwed me up. I was off. I took 7 days off, which I think sometimes our bodies need, right? But I wasn't intentional about making sure that I was diligent about keeping that commitment to myself. So I've let myself lax, in the last month or so. So then obviously I put on weight. I still eat like crap sometimes. And so then it's that self-defeating thought process. And then it's like, nope, I got to get up. I got to do this. I got to restart the training process. And my coach will be like, hey, you haven't checked in. Like, what is going on? Like, shoot me an email. Like, where's this stuff at? I'm not seeing anything on the app that we use that you're hitting. And I'm like, he's like, it's like, you can't fake that stuff. It's not like I can say, oh, I went. And he's like, no, I can track exactly what you're doing. So that stuff keeps me accountable as well in hitting those things.
Yeah, having a coach that you touched on is so important. And I always tell, team members or anybody who will listen, like, for me, like, a big reason why I was able to because I was a bigger boy. I was 350 about 3 or 4 years ago.
Dude, you were not a bigger boy. You were enormous.
Yeah, it was humongous. But I've been able to work that off, and in large part because I have somebody. I've never met the guy, the person.
Yeah, is he off the East Coast or something?
I think he's in North Carolina. Hell of a nice guy. I spoke on the phone twice. I've worked with him for 3 years now. It's all through text, but that accountability piece is so huge. Like, every Thursday, I got to wake up, I jump on the scale, I take a photo, I do photos of my underwear front, sideways, and back, and send them over. And we just look at progression. If I miss a couple check-ins, he knows better. And it's really quick to be derailed. And that's, everybody has setbacks. Everybody. I don't care who you are. The winners, though, identify that they've gotten off track and they course correct.
Yep.
It's the ones that don't have anybody holding them accountable, and the ones that fall off on day 2, day 3, day 4, and then all of a sudden it's week 2, week 3, week 4, and then you're off at that point you're completely off. Right. All that momentum is destroyed. And momentum's a son of a bitch. It goes both ways. When you're getting crushed, it makes it really easy to just say, I'm going to lay in bed. I don't feel good. What's the point? Like, you're already insecure because you feel like you maybe put on some weight. That's how I feel right now. We talked about when I was out for 3 weeks. And I was in self-sabotage mode. It's something I'll probably need to address with a therapist at some point. But I'm talking about, like, not giving a shit what I was eating. I was eating everything. Uber Eats every day.
6 pink box donuts at a time.
For sure, dude. Just shoveling my mouth, like crumble cookies, you name it. Like, just not even like being select, just eating everything. Almost like I was intentionally sabotaging myself.
Totally.
Because I wasn't going to the gym, because I wasn't being held accountable. It's one of those things where I'm just like, well, I'm kind of cutting loose. Might as well. Let's go crazy.
Right.
And that's something, again, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'll have to probably address this at some point. It's probably my addictive personality, but it is a self-sabotage. And I probably would still be in that if I didn't at some point have to face the music.
Yeah. If your coach wasn't like, hey, it's been 3 weeks, where are you?
Yep.
What's going on?
It's huge, man. So you nailed it with the accountability. People think it's just somebody telling you what to do. It's not. That's just one piece.
Yeah, it was interesting. You made the comment about motivation. I said a couple of years ago, there was someone I was dating, and she's like, "I'm just not motivated to do this." And I just looked at her and I said, "Motivation is bullshit. Like, I don't believe in motivation. Like, it's this % of what it takes to get to where you want to be. Motivation, you think that you're going to see something on TikTok, you're just going to see something on Instagram, and trust me, I post that stuff." Trust me, I repost it. I find something I like, I repost it. Hopefully it'll inspire somebody. But I really think motivation is garbage. It's not the idea of motivation, because motivation is the thing that's going to keep the wheel turning, right? You already have to have momentum to start down the road, and motivation is going to be like, oh, I remember. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's go. Someone's going to be like, you're going to read a book, you're going to hear a podcast, you're going to see someone do some spectacular thing that no one thought they were going to be able to do, a 30-second clip about what they did. And it's going to be like, yep, I know that I'm on the right path. I'll keep going. So it's going to keep that wheel turning. You have to get to a point where you're completely dissatisfied with what's going on and where you're at in life for that to push you forward. That's not motivation. That's determination to absolutely change. When, they talk about it in like recovery, when you're at your rock bottom, like when you were 370, 350, 370, we were both heavier guys. And it's funny because we didn't become friends until after we had kind of got past that process. Right. And, I was 260 and I looked like I was 300. Like it just looked terrible. But it got to the point, I'm like, I woke up and I looked in the mirror. I'm like, there's nothing I'm proud about the man I have standing in front of me physically. Like there's nothing I'm proud about. Like that has to change. I have to get to that determination and say, this is going to change, and I'm going to make every step and every effort to do that. So when I look at myself now, I put in 5 pounds, 10 pounds, because I'm off for a couple of weeks. I will look at myself and be like, okay, am I proud of the man I'm standing in front of? And it's not necessarily because of how I look, but it's because of, is what I look representative of the effort that I've put in, right? And that changed. You and I have talked about it. We laugh about it all the time. I think we both suffer from body dysmorphia a little bit. We're like, oh, I got a little love handle here, or I got a little bit extra. Like, I'm never going to be, and I'm okay with that. But if I can look in the mirror and be like, okay, I know that you put your best foot forward in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I know that you put your best foot forward yesterday. And even if you didn't, okay, today's a new day. Let's move forward from there. So when people are like, I'm just not motivated. Well, no shit. No one's motivated enough to do that. Like, I think if you asked my kids right now, hey, you can for the rest of your life hang out, play Roblox, watch Netflix, and not have to do anything, they're going to go, okay, it's path of least resistance, right? I think humans we're at some point, we're just like big babies. We just want everything given to us. I want this. I want this. I want this. I'm not motivated to do this. Well, you're never going to be motivated enough. You have to be determined at your rock bottom.
No, you absolutely nailed it. Motivation versus discipline, because motivation will get your nipples hard. It gets you jazzed. Just watch David Goggins on Instagram. That'll get you fired up. But it's fleeting, and that goes away. It's the days where motivation is not going to cut it, where it's 3:30 in the morning and your alarm's going off and you're like, what the fuck? Like, this sucks. Motivation is not going to put you out of bed that day. It's that discipline. It's that determination. And when you've gotten to a point, and you can say that it's your rock bottom, whatever, but it's a point where you're like, you prefer to deal with the suck of the gym, of waking up early, of being a little hungry because you're dieting, than what your current status is. For me, that was when, I could name it, but I was starting to get my doctor was like early diabetes potentially. I was having a hard time breathing. I just didn't feel comfortable. If you ever saw me, I'd always be insecure. I'd be wearing the baggiest clothing. It just was embarrassing, constantly sweaty. You know what I mean? I couldn't.
That extra fat sweat. Yeah,
oh, dude, I'm getting turned away at roller coasters. I'm walking, wanting to ride the new Harry Potter, just super jazzed. And the lady's like, sir, through the crowd, sir, I need you to step over here. And they sit me down in this mock seat and to try to shut it to see if it fits, and no dice. And
that happened?
That's the whole reason we went to the damn fucking park too, was to go on the new Harry Potter ride. And to say I wasn't humiliated was, that'd be lying. So I got to a point where all this shit, all of it, adds up, and it sucks. Nobody likes waking up at 3:30. Nobody likes running on the treadmill. Nobody likes not getting that extra dessert before you go to bed or something. But it sure beats, all of that other previous shit. And that's like fuel. I think you use it as well, not to that degree, but we all have our certain fuel that we use to help us and to keep us, not just motivated, but like disciplined.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that's discipline's such a key thing. I also think, like, and I briefly touched on it, it's making sure that you're completely accountable. So I remember, I want to say maybe, what is it, 2003? I think 2013. No, 2000, sorry, 3 years ago, 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. I think maybe it's 2019. I ran my first half marathon. Like, I didn't run. Like, growing up, I like did track, but I was like, I threw the javelin. So I ran down a short runway, threw a spear, and was done. That's what I did in track. In wrestling, it was short bursts. We obviously did tons of running for making sure that our cardio was up so we would be able to get through a match. But like, I hated running. I always said I hated running, said I would never do it. And then, you know, one of my best friends at the time was a pastor at my church, and we were connecting, and, you know, he was like sponsors. He was a professional triathlete, and he was like that guy. Like, he looks like that guy. 6'2", weighs about 112 pounds, soaking wet, but just like could fly on a course. And, you know, I just made the comment to him. I'm like, you know what? I think I might do a half marathon. He's like, do it. Sign up and tell 5 people. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I want you to send me the receipt that you signed up. And then I want you to tell 5 other people, tell me who it is. And literally every race, I will tell people that I'm doing a race because I have to make sure that I have that accountability. This last year I had probably it's really the first injury I've had since I was a freshman in college. I was on a bike ride and was going like 25, 30 miles an hour down a hill, hit a patch of dirt, went head over T-cuddle, like jacked up, and literally blew out all of my AC ligaments in my shoulder. If you look at my shoulder now, there's a big giant bump because they couldn't do surgery. And and that was in, I want to say, beginning of April last year. And I had signed up for my first half Ironman that was in September. And I was petrified. Like, cause I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I've told all these people that I'm going to do this race, and now I get this massive injury. I had to bow out of one race that was at the end of that month that I couldn't end up doing. Physically, I didn't get cleared by the doctor. But once the doctor cleared me, they're like, listen, this is just going to hurt the rest of your life. You're just going to have to deal with it, but you're good to train and do whatever you need to do. And so I was just bound and determined. I'm like, I don't care what my time is. I will finish this flipping race. I will do it and I will complete it. And you and I talked, I was terrified. I'm like, it wasn't the getting a DNF, did not finish. It was literally having to tell people I didn't finish. That's the thing that I was like terrified of. Like, and you were one of probably about 3 or 4 people that knew that I was like, I really don't want to do this. Like, I remember driving to Santa Cruz and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to be here. Even when I was on the course, I was like, man, I better finish this thing because I got people to answer to. But that was that accountability that kept me going. You know, it was interesting. I transitioned from the bike to the run, and I ran maybe about a mile and a half, and then my back just locked up, completely locked up, like to where it was just hurting to walk. And I had to realize that I had the next like 12 miles to finish of this race. And I was like, and my only thought was, I have to finish even if I walk, which was just devastating to me. But it was literally like, I was like, people are going to be calling me later tonight asking how it went. I'm going to have to tell them I didn't finish. I'm like, that's not flipping happening. So 12 miles, I literally walked almost a half marathon to finish the flipping race. I was like so disappointing at the end of it. But at the same time, it's like, I also finished because I put that out there. But it was that accountability that kept me going, because I could have just turned around and walked back and been like, I'm just hurt. It's not working. But I was still capable. It's not like my leg was broken or something that I couldn't finish. So it, you know, it's that accountability that keeps you going at times.
Yeah, no, that was great advice from your buddy there. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's one thing to make a commitment to yourself in private, you know, and that's the first step. But when you actually commit and you announce it to other people, now you have people, you know, that'll be checking in on you. And it's that extra layer of accountability like you addressed. And to me, it also preps you for success a little bit more. Like if you're, you know, wanting to quit drinking or wanting to do a 5K or whatever, people are going to be more understanding of you not wanting to go to happy hour, right? Or, do these things that may deter you from your goal. So I think that's just phenomenal advice. I mean, obviously more people will be kind of relying, but they're also going to be more supportive because they're going to know that you're not battling something, and it's okay to be vulnerable. You don't have to do it in front of everybody. I take that, and we do it with the Roland Facebook fitness group, where we posted publicly, but like even before that, I was putting it out there on social media, and it's not so, hey, look how many miles I ran or how many calories I burned. It's like, that is me telling people essentially, hey, I checked in today. And most people are probably like, this is annoying, I don't give a shit. It's fine. It's not for you. It's for me. It's
Totally.
for me to hold myself accountable, because same thing with my trainer. It's like, I had people at the gym like, hey, not only did I not see you, but I wasn't seeing your check-ins. Like, are you okay? And that was eating me up as well.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I don't post every day in regards to what I'm doing physically, what I'm training, but I do often. And especially when there's a race coming up, I talk about it. And, if I were to be super honest, if you looked at the scope of all those quote unquote, like check-in posts with my athletic stuff, the vast majority of them are not like, this was awesome. The vast majority of them, this sucked. Like, I didn't want to do this. Like, I don't like being out here. I don't want to be doing this today. I'd rather be eating, Lucky Charms or something. But at the same time, it's like, but I did it and it got it done. And I'll tell you this, like, I'm sure you've had people do, but in the last 4 or 5 years, I've had people reach out to me. They're like, listen, you helped push me. And I realized that it was possible to do something else. I mean, we had somebody on our team that's never run a 5K before. Mm-hmm. Has walked one 5K before in her life. I don't even think she finished. She just did one lap from the one we did in January, and then went out, and you and I went out with her in freezing cold, in rain, in wind, and all this stuff. And literally, you and I remember looking at her going, we're not leaving her. She's going to run this thing. And she jogged most of it. Mm-hmm. She walked a little bit of it, but she jogged most of it. And for me, that was the best win of the weekend. I did a half marathon the next day, and I had a friend who hadn't done a half marathon since 2017. But we had made a commitment to each other. And I was like, listen, she's like, go. And I said, I give you 2 options, 2 times on this race. You can tell me to leave. Both times I'm going to say I'm not leaving. If you ask me again, I'm just going to give you a look, and you're going to know I'm not flipping going anywhere. And when she walked, I walked. When she jogged, I jogged. And we finished it. And it was much better to be able to see somebody else cross the finish line, like, because they had me there in regards of like helping and saying, you can still do this. You can still do this. Pushing somebody else in that other direction for me is so much more fun. When I have people reach out and message me on whatever I'm doing in life, and they're like, man, you have no idea. Like, I've got off my butt. I've signed up for this. It's one of the things I'm like, dude, then that's, if it helps that one person, I don't care. You can see, I'll post my times. They're slow as hell. My half marathon is like a 10:30. I'll slow. You can go a lot faster than me and get your medal, and then you can, have your snacks and all that stuff, and then you can see me come like 30 minutes later, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's fine with me. I don't care, because I'm finishing the race.
And that's what it's all about, is just finishing. And yeah, man, those people who reach out, it's pretty awesome to see when that does happen. But there's a lot of people also that are just, watching, in silence, and, not just those people, but, our kids as well, so we want to try to live by example. So it is a fun byproduct. Social media, there's a lot of negativity surrounding it, but there's also a lot of positive things to where, like, I'm inspired constantly by people doing certain things that I consider unachievable. But if they can do it, why can't I? So go out there and do it. And you don't have to freaking break records, just finish and prepare for it and train for it. And the journey sometimes is, and, especially when we talked about earlier, how like, it's always, you always want to have a new goal in order to be satisfied and to be happy. For me, something that I've been trying to focus on, because the goalpost is always shifting, is to truly enjoy the journey.
Right.
And right now I'm kind of beating myself up because I feel like I put on weight. It's probably more in my head than anything else from the 3-week hiatus and eating like shit. But I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like, so what? So I go back into the gym and I lose it. I enjoy it at this point. Like, I really do enjoy going to the gym and running 5Ks with you, or just going outside and just doing things like this. So it's a lot of it is just if you can take the time and not to just focus on a goal, but rather just enjoy the moment and just try to take stride of where you have been. It's like so much better, so much improvements. There's a high degree of satisfaction with that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, one of the things that's been cool for me in the last year is that, last year you did your first 5K last January and you were wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this shit is dumb. Like, why do you do this? Like, you did a 5K and you're like, I'm not built for this. I can't do this. There's no way. Like, 3 or 4 days, you're like, I'm beat up. I can barely walk. This thing's stupid. My back hurts. My legs hurt and all this other stuff. And then this year, you're like, I'm going to do a 5K every single month. And then after we did our 5K in February, which is just like last week, you're like, I think I might do a half marathon by the end of the year. I'm like, sweet. Did a group text with another friend of ours. We're like, okay, guys, here's the deal. You guys are both doing a half marathon by the end of the year, and I'll put you on a training schedule. We'll get one booked. We'll do it by the end of the year. And it's like, it's funny to see that journey of like, you don't think that you can. And you're like, well, but no, I actually can. Like I think as humans, we give ourselves such little credit in regards to what we can actually accomplish when we just put the effort into it. You might not win, but I always say 80% is much better than 0, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talked about our friend who ran that 5K with us, and I'm so proud of her. She was busting her butt. And the reason why she showed up, because there was every excuse not to. It was freezing freaking cold. It was the rock and roll 5K, and then you did the marathon or the half marathon the next day.
Yeah.
But it was rainy on the 5K that evening. It was rainy. It was windy. It was miserable. It was so damn cold. And literally every excuse in the world, just the weather's not good, blah, blah, blah. But she did it. And you know what? We're doing another one in 2 weeks, the St. Patty's Day. It's like Hoover Dam. She's doing that one too, because she said she wants to do one every month this year. So just that degree of accountability. She doesn't want to let us down, doesn't want to let herself down. So if it's okay if she walks it, doesn't matter. Just run and just finish it. And I wanted to touch upon earlier, you said that you had been a pastor for 14 years prior to getting into real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me what that's like, because I also have one of my coach himself, he was similar, right?
Yep.
And then he came in and he excelled. There's another person that I'm familiar with in Denver. He's part of our coaching group.
Yep.
Also similar. Like it seems people with that background just excel in real estate. Do you know why that might be? Or is that just...
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm excelling. Those guys are. I don't know if I'm excelling yet, but I'm getting there. I think part of it is, for me, I just get so much personal satisfaction in seeing people accomplish their goals. So whether it be real estate or helping somebody do something physical that they want to do, whether it be a 5K or a half marathon, or even think about doing triathlons, I love seeing somebody be able to get that satisfaction. And when I was a pastor, you were able to see life change happen for people. You were able to see people whose lives just drastically were different over time. And whether you believe in God or not, or religious or not, it's irrelevant. That the one thing that I go back to always in life is you can't stay the same. The biggest tragedy in life is if you are right now, next year, today, the exact same person. That is a tragedy. And I think there are so many people here in the world that are the same year after year after year. Like, I never want to be the same. I don't want to be the same 6 months from now as I am today. And so we're able to guide people through the chaos that they have in life. As pastors, it's kind of what our vocation was. And one of the biggest chaotic things in life is moving. Like the idea of moving. And one of the biggest goals people to have is moving. So you mesh those two together. Like, I love seeing, people say it's just business. You can't take it personal. Listen, I can take every deal personal. There's no other way for me to do it, because I'm able to either help someone sell a home, which is accomplishing a goal that they have, or be able to buy a home, which in most cases, people don't think that they can. So we're able to provide that avenue that guy, I always talk about, we're going to get you on a game plan. We're going to get you on the right road and the path to where you want to be, which is usually owning a home or a new home, right? And so being able to guide someone through that, for me, is the greatest joy. I mean, I still go back to, you'll know this, last year in the chaos that we had with multiple offers and multiple offers. I mean, you'd throw a house up and you wouldn't need to put pictures up and you'd have 10 to 15 offers like immediately, right? Well, I had one VA buyer, which most people would be like, okay, that's an immediate rejection. Her name was Kathy, or still is Kathy. It's not like it's changed over the last year. But we literally started last January, and she didn't move into her house. Her anniversary's coming up in April. We put 21 offers in. 21 offers before we got one accepted and finally got it closed. And I'll tell you what, like, I cried when I got the email and phone call from the listing agent saying, we're accepting your offer. They've signed it. Here it is. Here's the final contract. And then I cried again when I called her. Like, there was a couple people in my office that I was like, you guys have to listen to this. I Kathy on the phone. I said, hey, Kathy, guess what? And she's like, okay, what other ones do we need to put an offer? And I said, you don't need to put an offer on anything else. You're in contract. And she literally broke down in tears because she didn't think that she was going to be able to get a home. Her price point, being a VA buyer, super difficult market. Like, she did not think it was going to happen. I said, we got some exemptions. We got some things. Everything's taken care of. You're good to go. And I'm telling you what, being able to have her finally sign the documents that she was now a homeowner in Las Vegas I can't think of something else that's going to beat that one. 21 offers was exhausting. I broke down in tears off of one, exhaustion, and two, just like utter joy knowing that I was able to help this person guide this. And I'd say for the vast majority, a lot of my clients end up becoming my friends. It's just my personality. So I don't know if it's all pastors would be good, but it's that idea of being able to see someone's life change and usher some type of game plan in that. It's my passion. Like, if I had $50 million in the bank, I'd still be involved in real estate in some level. So, maybe not the day-to-day grind that you and I go through every day, but I'd still do it. And I'd still want to help people buy and sell their homes. It might be on a different avenue, but I love doing it. It's so much fun.
No, and I think that's why you're great at it too, because your heart is genuine and you really want to help people. I've seen that over the years, and you've seen people, and luckily I don't think we have anybody on our team, but you're inevitably going to work across people where they're just in it for the dollar.
Right.
On the listing side of things, you can see there's certain things where I'm like, you should be probably canceling or doing certain things to be an ambassador to your client, but that would cause friction in the transaction, and they don't want that because that could result in a cancellation, and then they don't get paid. You, on the other hand, you don't care about that. Ultimately, you want your client to win because you said it yourself. They become your friends. You care about the outcome. You care about the individual,
right?
And I think that's why it makes you great, and that's why your conversations are as good as they are. It's why you're great on the phone. It's just because there's authenticity backing up these questions because you are coming from a place of curiosity and compassion as opposed to just looking for a paycheck.
Yeah, I would hate it if it was like, hey, you pushed me into this deal. I would just that would make me sick at the end of the day. I would rather suffer in business and deliver DoorDash to make sure that I'm providing for my family, but also providing for my clients. Obviously, hopefully I'm never in that spot, right? But I think that if I've said, and I've told you, I would much rather do 35 super quality transactions than 50 shady ones. One is it's going to keep me out of lawsuit possibilities and issues with the division. But two is I have to answer at the end of the day for those 50 shady ones, right? I have to answer not only to those clients, but to myself. And ultimately at the end of the day, I got to answer to my kids. Those kids keep me motivated in regards of I got to keep my stuff on the straight and narrow. I always said, when I got divorced, I will do everything. And this isn't shade on my ex-wife. I think we parent great and have great interactions with each other. But I said, I'm going to do everything I can to keep my side of the street clean. And I think that is our number one responsibility as people. We need to make sure that we keep our side of the street clean. What somebody else is doing, we can't control that. We can only control our side of the street. So if it's clean and at the end of the day it's clean, then we're good. But if we're shifting and we're worrying about what their side of the street looks like, that's when we start losing focus on our stuff.
Definitely. And you coming from a place of abundance as opposed to scarcity, which, you see in a lot of ways, not just in real estate, but, in business wise, that people are concerned that they're not going to get another transaction or a client anytime soon. There's desperation, they have that commission breath, and it's very clear. But you operate, and it's regardless of the market or circumstances or whatever. Totally. You operate out of a place of abundance, and your clients can see that. And it's an awesome thing to see. And that's why, super lucky to have you on the team.
Wow. I appreciate you saying that. It's fun. And now it's also a point where I feel like I've been in it a little bit long enough that I've been able to provide enough of a value to the team and some people where it's like, I think I know what I'm talking about a little bit. I'm not the best agent out there, but it's fun for me to be able to see some of our team members get it. And you've been in those meetings and I stress all the time, like you're the number one advocate. Your number one job is to make sure that your client's taken care of. It's your number one job. All the other stuff, appraisals and inspections and lenders. And I'm like, getting into a fight with somebody over turf doesn't work. Making sure that you're doing everything you can to advocate in the healthiest way for your client is your number one job. If you are not doing that, you are missing out on what it is to be a real estate agent. And unfortunately, we have, some of the industry that people don't trust the most is real estate agents because they lose track of that. And something I tell new agents all the time, and I can only say because I've been guilty of it too. You get a hold of this one transaction, right? And you baby it and take care of it, and you hold it, and it's all precious, and you hold it so tight you forget about all of your other clients at that time. So when that one closes, that's great. You got to be able to cash that check, whether it be $3,000 or $30,000. Guess what? At the end of the day, you've just spent the last 30 days missing out on connecting with other people. So if you're not able to manage that aspect of it and make sure that you're able to say, okay, I have 15 people that I need to take care of, you are doing a disservice to those other 14 if you're only making sure I get paid on this one, right? I would much rather make sure that this one's okay, stable, healthy, good, and take care of those other 14 because those other 14 are going to close over the next 6 to 7 months.
Yep. It's that delicate dance, that time blocking that's so important. It's imperative. And it's something that we coach on and train on religiously and it's something I still need help with. Like, matter of fact, my last coaching call, it was dedicated to that. He didn't want to see any white space in my calendar. Now it gets booked. Everything is booked by the minute so that I can be as intentful as possible. So, you mentioned if you're kind of just winging your day and you have one particular client that's in contract and you're babying her and nurturing her, but you were neglecting everything else, your prospecting duties, maybe some social media, emailing, whatever, you're going to be feeling that a month, 2 months, 3 months down the line. So whether that means waking up early or staying up late, you got to time block. You got to find that extra time to make sure that you're not neglecting business, because we've all seen it. It's the roller coaster of commissions in real estate, or in commissions, really, in any type of entrepreneur that's dealt with commissions. You understand that, especially when you're newer, because you don't want it to fall apart. You get a deal in place and that's all you focus on. And it's nice you get paid, but, it comes back down because the next month or two, your pipeline is dry, you have no business, and that's stressful city. Like, because that's no way to manage like your business, your career. It's when you have that inconsistent income where you're getting paid once every 3 months. It's a very stressful environment. So that is something that we work on. Time blocking is so essential for every entrepreneur, and you nailed it. Very important.
Yeah, I think when we talk about, especially with real estate, it's almost like, I try to take it as an analogy to like a baker, right? Baker opens a shop, but they have to go through several processes in regards of making the different types of breads and danishes and all that stuff, right? Proving process. You got to wait for that yeast to build. You got to wait for all that stuff to prove. That takes time. Imagine if a baker is waiting for each segment to be done before doing anything else. Like, he's put some of the breads in his proofing. If he was standing there by the fridge waiting for the exact moment that proofing to be done, and then put it in the oven, then shape it, then put it in the oven and standing by the oven watching it, he's missing out on all the other stuff that he could be doing, all of the other products that he could be making, he could be setting up proofing for another set of stuff. Like, and it's that way with real estate. I have to do this. I have to put this in here. I have to get something in a contract, hand it off to my lender or the client's lender at that time. They have to get the documents. It's not, I can help and assist in regards like, hey, you need to get your documents to the lender. You need to do this for the lender. I don't have a problem doing that. But if I'm like blowing my lender up, hey, where's this at? Hey, what's going on with this? And it's like, a lot of time you just sit and wait, right? Like, where are the HOA docs? Well, we got to wait for that. We put an order in 3 days ago. They have 6 days to get it to us. I got to be doing stuff for other clients in that time. So we waste so much time sitting and watching the bread bake rather than preparing the next set of bread.
Absolutely. And these are things as, because you're part of our leadership committee on the Roland team. And I know that's been kind of interesting and challenging, obviously, because this is kind of a developing, we just put this together, what'd you say, 3-4 months ago?
Maybe a
longer?
little bit longer, maybe about 6. Yeah.
And we've been building the team quite rapidly. We've been adding new team members and, of course, different personality types, different styles of working. And so we're trying to train a basic universal way in a lot of ways, but we're running into challenges because, it's not like a one size fits all. Can you explain some of the challenges that you've seen kind of undergoing the leadership frustrations, maybe other people in the field or industry that, maybe similar can relate to?
Yeah, I think the one thing for me, thinking about that I think it's been challenging is the idea of ownership, right? The idea of ownership on 2 levels. One, into someone's individual. I can't make somebody want to own their business more than they do. And for me, that is very hard. Because I can look at someone and be like, you have all of this. You have to put the effort in. If you do not pay attention, you're going to lose this business. It's not my business, it's yours. I shouldn't care about this business more than you do. I shouldn't be having to check up on you on a constant basis to make sure you're doing the things that you're doing. Like, that shouldn't be my job. You should be waking up every morning going, okay, I have these things I have to get done. And I think part of the mindset also is buying into the team. I think, on a leadership committee, we have, I think the less tenured person has probably been just over 1.5 years, but most have been 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? So there's ownership in regards of what we've put together in regards of a path. Now, one size doesn't fit all, but one system has to fit, right? We can't be like, okay, you can do this, but you can do this. Like, we have our system. And I think the thing most people miss out on was, at least in real estate in our business, is the idea that, okay, I'm my own business owner. I'm an independent contractor. I can make the decisions that I want to make, right? Well, yes, you can, but we also have guidelines that you need to run by. So if you're not teachable, you're just not going to fit. And by teachable, I mean, I don't have all of the answers. I still get ripped a new one by you on things that I miss out on or forget or don't do or things like that, right? There's things like that. Like, if you can't take direction, I think in any industry, but especially in real estate, when you're first a new agent or joining a new team, if you cannot follow direction in regards of being teachable and learning a new system, then you're really going to miss out and you're going to suffer. You're going to butt heads with people. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get aggravated. And I'm telling you, you're just not going to last. It's just plain and simple. Like, I can nail whether someone's going to work or not, probably within, you'd say my idea about being able to read someone's pretty accurate in regards of within a couple of weeks, because and the number one thing, are you teachable or not? Will you actually listen and follow through? Or will you just say, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. And I'm like, how many times have I looked at someone and been like, no, you're not actually hearing what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to teach you to help prevent something for you and your clients and ultimately the business at the end of the day. Because that's part of my priority, is to make sure that you're successful. Like, if our business tanks, I got no team to work with, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing, is the idea of being humble. And I don't care whether you're a first-time agent or you've done 60 deals this last year. If you're joining our team, if you're joining any team, you have to be able to take a step back, take a little bit of humility and say, I don't have all the answers. What I have or have not done has either been successful or not, but this is what they're asking of me. So then I have to learn to fit myself in that. There's people that I will tell you to this day, and I've told you, I've told other team members, you and I will go hang out outside of the office. There are people on our team, I will probably never do that, but I will always have your back. And if you can't say that about your other teammates, you got to ask yourself, am I A, on the right team? B, is it partly my job that I'm losing out on? Is the problem me? So those are the things that I would say.
No, damn right, man, and well said. And I appreciate having you on today, man. This was a great first edition of Making Moves with Mike and Joel. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Awesome. This was fun.
Thanks.